Good afternoon, Dietmar Hücklein. Hello.
Namaste, good afternoon. Hope I am audible and hope all are keeping well and staying safe.
Yes, sir, you are audible. Please go ahead.
Okay, thanks. So thanks for joining this online interaction and the 7th annual oration lecture under Dr. M.V. Nimkar Endowment program. You may be aware of the sad demise of both Srimati Mohini Nimkar and Dr. Manohar Nimkar. They left for the heavenly abode few days back. And this event today will be a tribute and it will be a remembrance of Dr. Nimkar, well known as the Pitama of Indian textile processing and testing segment. Before we start today's program, I request all to please join me in saying Shraddhanjali to them. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Now, for the benefit of our audience today and to understand the context of this event, requesting Professor Ravindra Adiurekar, Head Department of Fibers and Textile Processing Technology, to brief us about the Dr. M.V. Nimkar Endowment and the activities performed in the past. Professor Adiurekar?
Hello.
Yes, sir. Go on.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Atle. Good afternoon, one and all. Distinguished speaker for today's event, Dr. Hugilin Dietmar, Professor A.B. Pandit, Honorable Vice Chancellor of ICT, Mr. Ullas Nimkar, creator of Dr. M.V. Nimkar Endowment, Professor R.R. Deshmukh, Registrar of ICT, dignitaries in audience, particularly our own Professor Shukla, I could see, Professor Teli, my faculty colleagues, friends from industry and academia and students, I extend warm welcome to all of you for today's event. We have gathered here virtually, of course, for Dr. M.V. Nimkar Endowment Lecture. And before we begin, let me tell you that every endowment is very important for us. And this endowment is very, very special. A well-managed endowment not only helps the institute for upgrading its technical knowledge in the form of lectures and workshops, but it also sends a message of planned long-term stability, fiscal responsibility, and financial viability. It enhances the organization's prestige and credibility. Dr. M.V. Nimkar Endowment has given us opportunity to work on development of department independently. This endowment was started in December 2006 and has been dedicated to the textiles department of ICT. The principal amount of rupees 25 lakhs was deposited towards this endowment fund. 50% of the annual earnings are used for development of the department. The remaining 50% is plowed back in the endowment fund. So ensure that this endowment remains relevant in future too. Some of the activities which are facilitated through this endowment are prizes for first and second rankers for all years of BTech, MTech, and MSc textile courses, prizes for publication of articles, of course, research articles in national and international journals, organization of lectures, workshops, and seminars, subsidy for factory visits and complete waiver on expenses for deserving students, grant for student junior faculty to attend national and international conferences, partial travel assistance for attending ITMA held once 4 years, special welfare for non-teaching staff, funds for annual maintenance, repair of equipments where other funding is not available. I simply cannot put it in words, the significance and value of this endowment for us. I can only thank Mr. Ullas Nimkar for this excellent gesture rather ahead of time. As we all know, now Dr. M.V. Nimkar is not among us, and I'm sure wherever he is, he will be happy to see all of us are gathered today and maintaining the discipline functioning of the endowment. Dr. M.V. Nimkar himself, a top ranker at UDCT BSc Textile Chemistry degree course, always took a great pride in his alma mater. Dr. Nimkar was highly disciplined, very meticulous, and he acquired himself a distinguished position of an eminent expert in textile chemistry. I salute Dr. Nimkar for living life on his own terms. Let me also thank Dr. Dittmar for accepting our invitation to be the speaker for this endowment. He will be speaking on the new normal in chemical R&D with focus on sustainability, digitalization, globalization, and open innovation. I welcome you, sir, once again to deliver your address on a very apt and interesting topic under prevailing circumstances. I also welcome all of you once again. Thank you.
Thanks.
Over to you, Dr. Atle.
Yeah, thanks, Professor Adivrekar, for highlighting the purpose and objective of this endowment. Before we start further interaction, requesting all attendees to please keep your audio and video on mute, and kindly type your questions or request for any clarification in the chat box, so that at the end of the oration session, we will request Dr. Dittmar Hugelin to explain them. And now I'll request Shri Ullas Nimkar to say a few words about Dr. Nimkar. Ullas ji.
Thank you, Dr. Atle. To begin with, I would like to express my gratitude to the Honorable Vice Chancellor, the Institute of Chemical Technology, for arranging this lecture on behalf of the Dr. M.V. Nimkar Endowment. I would also like to thank the textile and administrative departments of the Institute for managing this endowment so diligently over the past 15 years. And finally, of course, I would like to thank Dr. Dittmar Hugelin, Director of BASF Innovation Campus Mumbai, for accepting our invitation. In 2019, when we visited his campus, which is absolutely a fantastic facility, he showed us around the entire facility and it was most impressive. Also, I gladly accepted his proposal for this very contemporary topic, which I think is going to shed light and is going to give us direction in the coming years. Planned in 2019, this would have been an in-person event at the ICT, but unfortunately for the pandemic. And eventually it is now as an online version, the new normal in presentations, as we will hear the new normal in research. As you heard, Dr. M.V. Nimkar passed away just 2 days back, peacefully in his sleep. He was 95. He followed my mother just 2 weeks later. I guess they are happy together in heaven again. And it was his great desire that he would attend this lecture. He said that he couldn't travel to the campus, but definitely since it's online, he said, I would love to attend, because he had many fond memories of his visits to BASF, with whom he interacted very closely in the 1960s. So he has visited Ludwigshafen very often in those years. With this, I think this will be the first Dr. M.V. Nimkar memorial lecture. These are just few words I would like to say. Thank you very much, and I'm eagerly looking forward to the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Ullas ji. Now we'll request Professor Aniruddha Pandit, Vice Chancellor of the Institute of Chemical Technology, to address the audience. Pandit, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Atle, Dr. Dittmar, Professor Adivrekar, Ullas and Deepa, my sincere condolences, as well as condolences from the entire ICT family. And you could not have said the right things about Dr. M.V. Nimkar. I'm sure he is listening from there. He is participating with his soul and spirit still at ICT, enjoying the development and the work which is being continued from his times. I would like to welcome you all for this first Dr. M.V. Nimkar Memorial Lecture, as correctly was pointed out by Ullas. And I welcome you all to participate and to question and make this event very, very lively. And I would like to thank Dr. Dittmar for accepting this invitation and opening up a topic which, in my opinion, is likely to be the future area of research, thinking, as well as implementation as far as textile finishing industry is concerned. Now, textile and leather finishing, in both of which BASF have a leading role, are going to be the future sustainable technologies or future sustainable materials, which are going to see a sea change in terms of their properties, in terms of their usage, and in terms of their functionality. So we look forward to your discourse, Dr. Dittmar, and I'm sure you'll be touching upon most of these issues, and you will be an inspiration to our younger faculty as well as younger research students to identify and choose a topic which is relevant as well as sustainable, so that we will be in a position to continue this Dr. M.V. Nimkar Memorial Lecture for years to come. Thank you very much and welcome you all again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words and encouragement. Now I will request Professor Kale to give a brief introduction of our eminent speaker today. Kale, sir?
Hello.
Yes, go on.
Yeah. Good evening to one and all. It's a great privilege to introduce Dr. Huglin, who is a director of BASF Innovation Campus Mumbai, India, and Vice President, Advanced Materials and System Research. In his 30 years of research career, he has held several senior management positions in Germany and Switzerland that include Global Head of R&D of Segment Home and Personal Care in Genjak, Germany, and Head of Research Center Basel, Switzerland. Examples for key products from his own research work are new photo polyimides for semiconductors, which he developed for OCG Providence, Rhode Island, USA, and new cosmetic UV absorbers. For his contributions to progress in applied chemical sciences, he received the Sandmeyer Award of the Swiss Chemical Society in the year 2004 and the BASF Innovation Award in 2011. Dr. Huglin holds a diploma in chemistry and a PhD in natural sciences, both from University Freiburg in Germany. So we are all eager to hear from you, sir. So it is all over to you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks a lot for this kind invitation, Professor Pandit and the other colleagues. And it's very sad to hear that Dr. Nimkar just passed away recently. I also send my condolences. This is really sad to hear. I now start sharing my screen. Just give me a second. Share, and I hope you can see then my screen.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay. Yeah, maybe a few words, and I'm now 30 years in research in companies, Ciba-Geigy, Ciba, these were Swiss companies, and then later Ciba was acquired, BASF. I have done a lot of different jobs. What I want to do today is a little to give an overview. It does not go into details, but I want to show you, the students, that the world is dramatically changing. I can judge, and I think many of you also can judge, because when I started in 1990, there was no mobile phone, no internet. There was only very poor computers, I tell you. We had no real email, only internal email within the company Ciba-Geigy. The world was completely different. The most important guy was the postmaster. He came twice a day into our labs and into our offices, and then we received the orders, we received the reports and everything. The world has completely changed. And all the driving forces in the future, if you look at this century, if you look at the young people, it is mainly sustainability. This will not go away. This is, in my opinion, the biggest driving force. And then comes digitalization, globalization, and the open innovation approach, because nobody is able anymore to do things alone. Even a company like BASF, a huge company, we rely on a lot of partners. So a few words about myself. Thanks for the kind introduction. So my name is Dietmar. You should write it with EE in India. It's not Dietmar, but it's a long E in German language. So I'm a German, but live in Basel in Switzerland since many years. I'm 62 years old. I have the PhD Freiburg, Black Forest University, and I have 31 years, as I said, in different functions, but it always was attached to research. Also some additional functions. I worked in Switzerland, I had in Germany, I had large exposure also in US, UK, China, Japan, and particularly in India. I travel your country since 28 years now, and I live and work here since 3 years in Powai. And the actual job, as you said, is head of the new innovation campus. And my main own contribution, if you look at my patents and so on, is in the field of specialty chemicals. These are chemicals which are produced rather in low quantity, but give the functionality. And you all are using products which I developed. I'm 100% sure, because in the electronic materials field, if you have a mobile phone or a TV or whatever, then we need very specific chemicals to be able that these chips, the devices, semiconductor devices work. And I will give you an example later on. I also have a lot of joy as I get to develop my people, my talent into leadership roles. I have younger colleagues I hired 10, 20 years ago, which are now in leadership roles, either in BASF or in other companies, expert careers, but also moving people into new geographies. This is a very nice task which I can do. Yeah, look, my home country is a little smaller, like India, Switzerland. It's quite distant, but we are good friends. So there's no animosity between the countries, but they're different. And I had my first trip to your country in 1993. I will never forget the former Ciba-Geigy Research Campus in Oregon, now where the West Inn Hotel is, the Oberoi Mall. And then we had to relocate to Chandivali, and then later we closed it and we moved everything into Turbe, Navi Mumbai campus. And I visited a lot of spots in India. Many of your states I know from visiting, but there's still a lot of white spots. And my I would say management relation to India was already in Ciba-Geigy in the year 2000. I became responsible for our Indian research operations. Robert Federer, you may know, the big tennis star. He and I don't know him personally, but his father, the world is small, was a close colleague to mine during the Ciba time. He then retired. And I'm again resident here since January 2018. And this is me and my wife when we were still able to travel in India. This is, as you may know, in Hampi. This is the 50 rupees, a picture of the stone chariot. Yeah, and this is my home city, Basel, at the Rhine. A lot of chemistry there, 200 kilometers along the Rhine. We have BASF. The Rhine Valley is really a hub of the history of chemistry. Was written here in extreme case, and still it's a very important industry now, more pharmaceutical than chemical in Switzerland. Germany is still very strongly on the chemical side. And this is my alma mater city, Freiburg im Breisgau, the Black Forest University. You should come here. It's a nice place, only 60 kilometers north of Basel. And there are, of course, famous people, many famous people of this old university. It's the third oldest German university. And two you should know. This is first Hermann Staudinger, who as a chemist, he got the Nobel Prize 1953 for the discovery of macromolecules. Everything the term macromolecule was invented by him. Polymers, what we call polymers, this has changed the world because of the applications which came then. And we cannot live without plastics, without macromolecules anymore. And the other guy you may not know, but I tell you because this is Martin Waldseemüller, an old map maker, and he always wanted to have the best map. So he was always in he had letters with the explorers. And then Amerigo Vespucci, his friend, the Italian sailor, he went along what is now South America coast, and then he gave him information. This looks like not like an island. This looks like a continent. And then, of course, he drew the new maps, which he shared with the universities, Sorbonne, Paris, or Oxford, or so, Bologna, Italy. And then he had to write a name on this new continent. And he thought about, okay, the information is from Amerigo, from his friend, and America is just the Latin form because Latin was the science language in medieval times. So this is related to my university, that the president of the United States is United States of America and not Colombia, for instance. Okay, now I come to my talk. So I will briefly introduce into BASF. Most of you know the company, but maybe a few of the participants don't know the power of innovation. This is really important, not only for a company, for the whole society. My small country, Switzerland, is a poor country, you know, because we have only mountains. It's not fertile ground. We have no raw materials except of water power, hydropower. But the power of Switzerland was always innovation, new products. Germany, similar. And many other countries, Japan, for instance, and therefore the power of innovation is what changed the world and also makes societies and people wealthy and having a good living standard. BASF R&D operation India, the campus briefly, and then I come to my main topic, sustainability, digitalization, globalization, and innovation. I prefer to show you examples from my own achievements. So, but you can use these examples, of course, for all type of R&D. But I want to focus on my own examples. Yeah, BASF is a multi-billion company, very big, successful, global, and just two figures. We have a turnover of roughly 60 billion euros per year, so 6 crore euros in Indian terms. And we have a little more than 1 lakh people working for my company, so all over the world. Very important, it's a Verbund sites. This is a German word which you cannot translate. A Verbund means you have hundreds of individual plants interconnected, of course, which is very good because you can use side products from one plant, or energy if you have exothermy to feed the other plant. And it's very good also related to future of sustainability, because if you have individual plants, normally problem with critical mass. If you have many plants on one side, sewage treatment, everything is more economically and more sustainably. Our success, as I said, is based on innovation, and it's also clear from this 1.1 lakh, 10,000 colleagues work in R&D all over the world. I'm one of them. And we have per year roughly 1,000 patents, which we issue per year. And we also talk about the research Verbund, because everything is connected to each other. Now it's very easy with modern tools. In the past, when I started, it was all about normal mail, you know, the snail mail. We had to wait 2 weeks until we got a feedback from the US or so. Yeah, we organize ourselves globally, and this is kind of new. Since 6 years, we have headquarter Asia in Shanghai. There's also campus. So I am reporting not to Ludwigshafen, I'm reporting to Shanghai with my campus from Mumbai. Then we have Ludwigshafen, the headquarter is responsible for whole Europe and for process research. Our responsibility in Asia is for advanced materials and system research. And then we have a third hub, which is bioscience research in the US. This is how we are organized in 3 research divisions. And then we have 70 different research sites, which sometimes are very narrow. For instance, Japan, they do battery materials. Or Suwon, they do devices, you know, for instance, for Samsung. And the campus in China is the big one, and the smaller one is Mumbai. Campus means we have all type of functions on one roof, from patent, analytics, synthesis, process development, all functions at one side, and it has a strategic importance because we believe in the future of China, we believe in the future of India. because these countries will change, already have changed, and will change the world of chemicals, of course. Yeah, and I don't go into details. Shanghai is an older campus, a bigger one, opened 2012. And this is roughly 700 people there. And we do more materials and catalyst research there. Materials is the focus there. While our campus here in Mumbai is a little smaller. We have roughly 250 people there. And we opened in 2017. And our focus, to say directly, is the small molecules. So materials is more polymer science, so the polymer and the properties, and this is more small molecules, particularly in crop protection. We discover new molecules for crop protection, we develop them, we scale them up, but also specialty chemicals. This is our field of expertise. So we have either organic chemists or we have chemical engineers who work for us in research, most of them. Yeah, the power of innovation. You see, I'm excited always because this is so, we live in interesting times regarding innovation. So many challenges, but also a lot of successes. Just to mention one of the newest successes, that in the COVID, after a discovery of the COVID virus and sequencing it, it took not 1 year to come up with a treatment, with a vaccine, you know. And I just elaborate first to the messenger RNA, even a new technology. You see what mankind and science can do if we stand together, if we work together. We have really a lot of opportunities now. And this is the power of innovation for our company. Our company is more than 150 years old. It would not exist anymore if we would not have always started with a new phase. You know, everything was synthetic dyes at the beginning, 1869. Indigo, you see on the left side. Indigo here, the Indian color. Basically, little sad story for India, but good story for BASF, because this was planted in India. Natural indigo, the profits were made by the British, not by Indian people. The British made hell of money with this. And then Adolf von Bayer discovered the synthesis process. And then the whole natural indigo had no future because the synthesis was much cheaper. BASF made a lot of money. So Britain went out of business, and we used the money for the fertilizer period here after 1900. And then from here we went into plastics. I told you Staudinger discovered the polymers, and then immediately it was known we can synthesize polymers, and then a lot of properties were discovered and the whole world of plastic started. And from there we went into health and nutrition, crop protection. Now we deal more with synthesis systems. This is like battery materials for electromobilities like this. A lot of important milestones, but the message of this chart is even a large company cannot rest. We cannot rest. We will fail if we do not come up all time with new products and new processes. Yeah, and chemistry, all of you, we are all chemists, right? We are in a good field. We are in a good industry or a good academic topic, because chemistry is not everything, clear. Engineering, IT, everything is important. Biology, everything, medicine. But it's a key enabler to meet the current and future needs. It's basically across all industry, which you have here on this slide. And also it's interesting the mega trends and the mega issues in the future. And the 2015 is not far away from now, right? But you see, we will have much more people on the planet, much more people will live in cities, much more clean energy is required. We need better and more food, and everything has a relationship with new products, with new technologies, new processes from the chemical industry. Everything is related to chemistry finally. Yeah, this is a little question which I always raise. Someone may already know it. We had the increase. We had many years, a million years. We were below 1 billion people on the planet. We crossed 1 billion in 1804. Then it took us more than 100 years to cross the 2nd billion. But then in the last century, really, we went up to now 7-8 billion. And the question is always, why was this increase happened in the 20th century and not in the 15th or 16th or 17th century? Or why does it not happen in 200 years from now? And I cannot ask here online, but most people say because it's a pharmaceutical industry. But the real answer is pharmaceutical industry helped, of course, to extend the lifetime, of course, significantly in the world. But the reason for this increase is BASF. And this sounds a little arrogant, but it's really true, because this is a reaction nitrogen does not want to be combined with hydrogen, right? Nitrogen is extremely inert. To combine it to ammonia is a difficult process which was not known until the beginning of last century, when basically Haber and Bosch, this is one of the first examples of successful academia industry collaboration. So you see Fritz Haber on the left side, he was a BASF research head. And on the right-hand side, you see Karl Bosch from University of Karlsruhe. And they together made it happen that ammonia can be synthesized in large volumes. And from there, of course, fertilizers can be made, increasing the crop yield. And this is the reason that the planet can bear now 7 billion and even more in future, because we have high yield of crops now compared to the past. And if you come to Ludwigshafen, you see a park, you see a rusty big column, you know. Most people don't know, they don't look at it, but if you look at the plate, you know that this device changed the world. It's one of the fundamental key innovation, as I said, to be able to feed the people, the growing population on our planet. And it was called the Project Bread from Air. Yeah. R&D operation in India, why are we in India? It's very simple. Why is BASF doing R&D in India? There are two reasons. One reason you see on the left side, India is one of the largest talent pools in the world if it comes to science, technology, engineering, mathematics. And I think in a few years, India will pass China to become the #1 talent pool in the world. So, and then we have technology available in India. You have many universities. I would not call all universities in India world-class, but some are world-class. And this is the university we collaborate with. And on the right-hand side is the whole market situation. Everything is driven by the population, a big population, but the increasing middle class in India, a young population, extremely young, with a median of 25 years. In Germany, it's 48 years. And you see on the top right side, you see here, it's the 5th largest GDP now in absolute terms, and it's growing right now. We have a dip with COVID, but it will continue to grow, of course. And it's the 3rd largest chemical industry in Asia after China and Japan. So a lot of reasons to do this out of India and not from abroad for India. And the other point, this is a little my mantra, what I tell my people, my managers, India is a country where you see a lot of challenges like in other countries, but you see it like a magnifier on health, nutrition, drinking water, clean air, food chain losses, clean energy, CO2 neutral, waste treatment, infrastructure, urbanization. India needs a lot in future, and therefore it's good to do this type of research also out of India. Sustainability, it's a good location, India, to do R&D on sustainability issues. All right, our campus, big, nice building, not much to say, atrium in the middle, you know, it's a big atrium, which provides us with many light from inside, from outside, very nicely located, and we can cater 300 employees. We are not totally full, and we do research, as I said, in synthesis and process development for crop protection and specialty chemicals. We do molecular modeling, data science, analytics, and then we have the development units. They take care for existing products to make them applicable with the Indian customers. A creation center, which is exhibition, where you can show to customers what's possible with BASF products, and a patent group with a global function. And we are now, we are 4 years old, basically there. Location, you are from Mumbai, you know, it's better to be on the other side. Okay, ICT is very nice in Batunga. I'm jealous, you know, this is one of the best places, Batunga, Dada, and so on. But we are on the other side, and it's good for our people because they live at the belt, Thane to down, Bellapur, Karga and so on, where still housing is affordable. On the Mumbai side is much more crowded and much more expensive. So, and we are also very nicely located regarding traveling. We can travel in 45 minutes to ICT, to IIT. We can travel in 2 hours to Pune, and it's a good location. And here a few pictures. Some of you have visited the campus. We have 4 types of labs. The largest is the analytical lab. Then we have development labs, you see, for many industries, and they look different because here you see the fuel and lubricants. They do testing of ingredients and of fuels. Or we have here pharma solution lab. They do tablet pressing because we provide polymers and ingredients for pharma products. Research synthesis labs look everywhere the same, I would say. And what makes us proud is the KG lab. This is the most modern of whole BASF, and we have so-called mini plant technology. So in every stand, there's a different kind of process realization, and everything is on computers, and we can mimic the final plant where our products go. And this is very different from the past. When I started my job, you had to move from 100 grams to the first 5 kilograms, then to 1 ton, then to 10 tons, then to 50 tons. Time consuming, expensive. And now the new molecule goes into this small plant, and we can really make a process and directly transfer it into the final plant where we make 100 tons or so. So they're very nice. Creation Center, as I said, we show to our customers, automotive industry, what is possible with our products, what can be achieved, and this triggers ideas on their side. Yeah, it's all about people, you know. We have good people in India, of course. We have 2 pathways, expert career and management career. We give everybody opportunity to work abroad. Indians like to work abroad. You see Indians everywhere in the world, also in Switzerland. We have a young organization, and we have an internal PhD program also with ICT. So with IIT, with ICT, and with NCL, right now, just one of my colleagues has finalized his PhD at ICT. Yeah, I think we are a good employer, and they have low attrition rate. Now, what are we doing? You see here the portfolio of BASF, what we all have, the business fields, and you see here research. So dominantly in India, we work on agricultural solutions and also nutrition and care, and on industrial solutions. This is the 3 fields. And then we have development, which works in these both fields, industrial solutions and nutrition and care. And then we have this creation center, which is for materials. This is our setup in the campus. And then to give you just an example, not getting in detail, this is one of the molecules which came out of Mumbai since inauguration 2017. It's a new molecule. You may wonder, you see the structure here. And this molecule is needed for so-called thermal printing. If you go to shop or the prints, you know, for packages, labels, and so on, they are thermally printed because you can make much smaller devices. You don't need a printing head because the system is in the paper. Okay, it's a little like the old photography, but there you need many components, chemicals inside of the paper. And one is a developer, but the existing developer, bisphenol A, is banned now and will be banned globally. And we finally had to develop a new molecule which is able to replace. And this is a very nice business. This is now produced in Ankleshwar in India. It's really a very nice specialty chemical business because now the old product will not be allowed anymore. And the new product now really goes very, very strong into the market because there's no alternative right now. And on the crop protection, this is like pharma, you know, only to show you, this has a lot of steps. And we start with 140,000, 1.4 lakh substances, and then the tests and everything. And one ingredient is result. And then we need process development, upscaling, everything. And we do the design here on this side in Mumbai, and we do the process development upscaling. And it takes us 8 to 10 years and costs of 20 million euros per new product. So this is a very specific research field. Yeah, now to sustainability. I think It is clear no company will succeed in future if not all the processes, all the products, everything what we start has been looked at not only from an economy point of view, like in the past, is it profitable, or from a point of view, will somebody buy it? The important thing now is the sustainability, and this is our purpose of our company. We create chemistry for a sustainable future. This is our purpose. This is why we are here. Of course, we also want to make business, but this is our purpose. And sustainability is a little like innovation, a very general word. You know, how we see it is this is the big sustainability. For all industries, also for us, it contains the license to operation. Unsustainable products and processes will not survive in future. It is also more and more customer expectation, because in the developed countries, but also in India, people want sustainable products. And if you are good in developing new sustainable solutions, then it's a huge business opportunity. And this relates, of course, in a large chemical company to the question of energy consumption, to water consumption, the feedstock question. Decarbonization extremely important, and then elements of circular economy and chemical recycling, which I will address in a minute. This is part of it. Circular economy, part of sustainability, and chemical recycling is part of the circular economy, but an important topic. Overall, sustainability is comprehensive. It not only deals with nature, you know, with air, with water, with ground, but also it is has to maximize the long-term economic, social, and environmental value. Because if people are poor, if we have also no success financially, we cannot fund the future development, global development. It must be really seen as a holistic a situation, because if countries are too poor to do anything, it will not help in sustainability, and therefore we need also companies who make profits, pay taxes, and to help developing the country. It is a matter of humanity's survival in the meantime. I think this is clear. If we do not change our way, if we continue like the last 100 years, survival of humanity is at risk. And you see this, there's kind of the overshoot day, you may know. This is basically the calculation. What is the date in the year when we all together have used more from nature than our planet can renew? And until 1972, it was no problem, because everything was in balance. But since then, this year goes back and back and back. 2020, we were at August 22. 2019, we were at July 29. The reason that we went forward was only COVID here, 2020. And of course, this is a question for all human beings for sustainable future. But if you look at the history, of course, some countries did better than others. Look here on the right-hand side, how many Earths do we need? So if everybody would live like American, we would need 5 planets. If everybody would live like Indian, we would be absolutely okay globally. This has to do with, you know, travel, housing, cars, vehicles, consumption, and so on and so forth. But in absolute terms, India, of course, has also a very high responsibility after China and US. Absolute terms, the footprint comes now India. And India is strongly growing. China is continuing to grow, but we have to reduce this footprint. And as I mentioned, for a BASF, this is a picture of our site in Ludwigshafen with hundreds and hundreds of plants. And you see all these pipings and so on and so forth. A good thing is that we now really develop these plants, these Verbund sites, further for low water consumption, for green energy, feeding it with green energy and all these things. And this is the good thing, that we have this kind of Verbund sites all over the world. A very big one now in South China is under construction. But it means we need to optimize our production environment, even to go further down with emissions, particularly with CO2 emissions. And our pledge, you see, if we look to 1990, the CO2 emissions went up. We hope that soon we get into a plateau and then down. This is the global view, the global greenhouse gas. BASF, by optimizing really all the processes, we went down significantly. But now, because we increase volumes, now we are more flat, but we work very hard capturing carbon management, using carbon CO2 finally as a building block for future chemicals, or combining it with H2 to have syngas, synthetic fuels. All these things, very, very important. So we want finally to become CO2 neutral, and this is also along the European Union's targets. You may know by 2050, we also will contribute to this. You know, it's not only just about CO2 carbon management. A very important part of chemicals are the big steam crackers, because there everything starts. The steam cracker takes naphtha and transforms it to olefins, and from the olefins we do all the nice things in our chemical industry. But right now the steam crackers are basically, the furnace uses natural gas. This causes a lot of CO2 just to transform naphtha into the olefins, ethylene, propylene, and so on, a starting point. So what we have now start in BASF is to use e-furnaces, meaning it's basically the same principle, no difference. Absolutely the same, but we completely use renewable energy to heat the system, and therefore drastically reducing CO2. Or I have shown you the big question of hydrogen. Hydrogen used for ammonia, but also for many, many other chemical processes, hydrogenations. You see the state of the art, the steam reforming of natural gas, and it's a good thing is you need little energy to do this, but you have a very high CO2 emission. Therefore, it does not look good. Now, there are two alternatives where BASF is working on. One is the water electrolysis. You know, it's perfect, but you need a lot of energy because this does not want to be split here. The water molecule does not want to be split. High energy, it's very good for locations where we have a lot of hydro and wind power. Norway now is leading here with this. Therefore, we also look at methane pyrolysis. You know, methane can be split, and there are very specific catalysts and very specific technology to make this really in high yield. The good thing here, no CO2 emission, and another good thing is there's a minimum energy required to this as compared to the electrolysis. So we work on both right now. Yeah, I come to the chemical recycling to end plastic waste as another part of the sustainability. You know, this is a picture from Mumbai. We have to stop this all over the world. And the nice thing is we can use all these plastics not only to dump it on the dump ground, but also to make new chemicals out of it, new pharmaceuticals, new polymers, everything. And there's no difference. This is what we do now on large scale in Europe already, but we also want to come to India, to China doing this. And this is related, of course, to circular economy, because we cannot in future just dump stuff. And then, you know, we have always to look that the economic growth must happen in future, but it should not be linked to consumption of finite resources, to more and more energy, more and more materials. This is what circular economy is about. And this means in all phases of product generation, we have to bring it back and to optimize, to minimize waste, to keep resources in use as long as possible, sharing economy, to not buy something which we do not need, for instance, to, if you don't use the car often, rather share it, and so on and so forth. A huge one. But when it comes now to chemical recycling of polymers, you know, we have the end of the lifetime. A pure polymer can be mechanically recycled. A polyurethane becomes again a polyurethane, but only pure materials, not dirty, not compounds. And the others right now, you know, right now, a lot of stuff goes to landfill and littering. And in Europe, in the US or Japan, we use it for waste to fuel or for incineration. So we take the hydrocarbons and make energy out of it, which is better than landfill, but still not optimal. What now is coming more and more, and this is needed, and it will transform the whole waste treatment of plastics, is to go for chemical recycling, to close this gap, because chemical recycling by pyrolysis cracks the chain, hydrocarbon chains, and then we start again from a naphtha, and we can use the naphtha as shown before as a starting materials for the polymers and chemicals, whatever we are using. I won't show this film because it's a little short in time, but I want also to show you, this is of course linked to, you may have heard about Global Alliance to End Plastic Waste, because we need to get rid of situation that plastics ends up in rivers and then in the sea, causing big issues, microplastics and a lot of things. And we have here in India, Reliance is this is a consortium of many companies spending money for research and implementing it, and BASF is one of the leading European companies for this. And look, in India, we have a situation that 10 rivers in the world transport more than 90% of the plastics to the ocean. And in Asia, the number one is the Yangtze River in China, and in Asia, the number two is the Holy River, the Ganges River, right? So, and this is something we are very much involved now. Yeah, you are a lot of you are chemists, and you work on processes. And only to show you, we of course since many years we apply the green principles for sustainable chemical processes, which come from Paul Anastas. And basically, I think you know about this. We have the 12 principles defined. You see here what are for BASF the focal points, and then engineering the same, the 12 principles of green engineering, or related to saving energy, to minimize side products, to really look holistically at the situation. And every new process, of course, is judged by these principles. And we have, of course, have very famous examples where these principles are perfectly fulfilled. The nicest one I see is this one here, cyclodecanone, which is very important for polyamide 12, you know, this small molecule here. And the point was, if you look, the old synthesis, you will see, was quite a tedious process, you know, from butadiene to cycle, then to hydrogenate, then to do via boron complex, you come here. What is done now since quite some time is in the Verbund we have N2O from the adipene acid synthesis. This is basically a very bad greenhouse gas, very bad. It was released to the atmosphere in the past. And now we use this side product from the Verbund to do this oxidation, and then followed by hydrogenation. This is nearly a perfect reaction sequence, because we make out of a very bad material a reagent, releasing nitrogen, which is really not a problem molecule. It's absolutely no problem. And the atomic yield of this process is perfect, because nothing is eliminated or so in terms of waste. And therefore, if you look at such type of process, they are really, if we judge it through the 12th principle of green chemistry or with the 12th principle of green engineering, very big progress. And maybe the message, everything what we are doing in future in our industry, everything on new processes, new products must pass this type of judgment. And again, if it does not lead to significant improvements, nobody will touch it anymore. Yeah. I come further to digitalization, where I will not focus too much. This is changing the world, of course, also, and it's changing completely the chemical industry. And, you know, if I look from my point of view in research, it's completely different how we do now research as compared to the past. We have data science, where we can retrieve data very quickly from so-called data lakes. Not only external data, also our internal test data is captured in a data lake, and then very sophisticated tools are available to retrieve data. Knowledge systems help us to find the way, the best way. We do, of course, molecular modeling in most cases. Before we start synthesis, we have a kind of a view, what is the right molecule? We still have to synthesize to upscale, of course, but it's completely different from the past, where it was more trial and error when I started my career. And everything is supported by supercomputer. This one is in Germany, but we can access via satellite from all places in the world. We get the calculation time, and then we can do the simulations. Of course, the same applies digitalization to production, where we use now augmented reality and particularly predictive maintenance, which means that in the past, a valve or whatever, a component of a chemical production failed, then there was a message and everything has to be stopped, being very tedious and costly. Now we have systems in place which tell us that we should replace a valve or a pump or whatever before the failure happens. This comes from airline industry, of course, where this is done regularly. Many other examples I could show you on this. Yeah. And of course, digitalization is very nice. It's combined with sustainability in a way. If we look now at the future of driving, of cars, we will see a strong electrification, which already has started massively in Europe. And we will also see autonomous driving, which is all about digitalization, using artificial intelligence, sensors, all supercomputing to allow this. And BASF is doing a lot on this now electrical vehicle driving. This is one of our largest research projects. It is not only about batteries, because all the components of car also need to be adapted. And in the battery fields, you may have read BASF is now the leading company on the lithium-ion battery for the cathode materials, the CAMs, which are responsible for the energy density and also for the lifetime of a battery, which are the key features of batteries. Globalization, you know, I'm a perfect example. You know, I come from a small village in the Black Forest, and I started my studies in a world in the late 70s, 80s, and I have seen how the things changed. When I started 30 years ago, most of my colleagues in Switzerland were Germans or French people directly from the border. You know, we were community. Sometimes you got a US colleague or somebody from UK, that was it. Now, it does not matter for companies like BASF where people are from. And, you know, we all, if we make career, we move into different countries from time to time. At the end of the day, we are a small now village. The whole world is a kind of a village. And we also have the understanding that we do not need to invent everything ourselves, since the world outside of every country is much bigger, even for BASF, you know, 1 lakh people in BASF, and we have a lot of academias globally which we now work with. Yeah. And working with academia maybe is really a lot of work, of course. You must make everything align yourself with the partner you must select. And you see, we have 8 global alliances of roughly 250 universities. These are strategic alliances. We have much more relationship on individual projects, but strategically, where we regularly interact, where we regularly work together. This is these networks in Asia. It's the NOW network of Asian Open Research. And just when I came, India had no dot, you know. This was all about Asia, was China, Japan, South Korea. This is a list of the leading university. And one of my jobs was to establish network also from Mumbai. And the first, they are now official on our map for global BASF is IITB and NCL. And we have regularly projects with them. We also have a strong interaction with ICT, but they're more about PhD programs, recruitment, this type of thing. But I'm looking forward also to work closer with ICT and IISc Bangalore also. Right now, it's very difficult to establish things due to Corona. Yeah, I end my whole thing about innovation, culture, and leadership. Maybe this is the most important thing to be successful, to have the right culture in research in the university as well as in the industry, because nobody can force somebody to think creatively, right? It's all about fostering innovation and creativity. And therefore, what is key for success in research? A big question, but relatively easy to answer. So first thing, optimism. All what we do in research, a lot of trials and error and failures, and you come home and you do not achieve, and it's the wrong thing, does not work, or registration, you have the perfect product, but it's not registered because of side effects. We need to be optimistic from day one to our retirement and later, even later. Be always optimistic, otherwise we cannot do research successfully. Then if we do research, this is only the first step. Then comes the invention. This is the outcome of research. Then we do development, and then come the innovation, which is the product. This is the rupees, right? Invention alone is only cost. And there's a lot of attributes to it. I cannot go into details, but a leader who is directing this needs to have a lot of capabilities, particularly empowerment, particularly motivating his co-workers, taking courage, taking risk, and all these things. And you know, creativity, just a question here. This is an example, the Roman numbers. This is 11 plus 1 equals 10, right? This is wrong because 11 plus 1 equals 12. So not. And then if you ask people, what is the minimal intervention here on this slide that the equation is right? Most people, I tell you, start with a proposal to make out of a plus or minus. This is true. 11 minus 1 equals 10. But this is an intervention removing this bar here, the vertical. And it's roughly 10% of the people. They know the most easy one is just to turn the slide upside down, okay? You turn the slide upside down, and then you have the new equation. 10 is equal 1 plus 9. So 10% of people come up with this very creative best approach. And then it's about early anticipation of future needs. And there I give you briefly 2 examples of my own career, which were very important for my career and had also some impact. One is about this year. You know this, right? Because you're using it. Also in India, all the young people are using it. I'm always very proud when I see it because I had the luck to be involved in this invention here in a very important part of the whole system, which is called the liquid crystal display, the LCD, which basically is, you see it on the monitor where we look at right now. It's very small cells. And these cells, it's like a church window, you know, a stained church window. When you have you see it in Europe in churches, very nice pictures of Jesus or whatever, saints, and they are different colors. And there's the sun coming from the outside. And then you see the picture. This is how LCD works. But you need very tiny cells and you need very sophisticated colors. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And then every cell can be switched on and off. And then it's mixed, the basic colors, to come up with what we see here. This is a LCD. The color filter part was discovered and developed by Sieber Geige and by Sieber from Basel, Switzerland. And I had a pleasure to be involved in this. And this was in the 90s. And how did it come? Because here, 1985, this was, you know, liquid crystal displays, these small things. And then we had the CRT, this thing is there, okay? And then came a very good idea from Japanese company to replace the CRT to look if we can do something flat. But it was not known if it works. An LCD display, and but it was seen that it offers the opportunity to make things more convenient. Miniaturization, mobile use of TVs, and so on and so forth. And the question for us in research, I remember very well when the Japanese scientists were coming, can you come up with color filters for dynamic? Because changing the picture 25 times per second in order to have movies and so on, high resolution LCD displays, which are required. This was a question to us. And we said, we don't know, but we will try. And it was a hard thing to do it. And it started with existing pigments for automotive applications, which are very flat, you know, DPP called. And we used this technology to make the first color DPP color filters, the AGA4s, for these displays. And I think you agree, this changed the world. It's only a component. There are many other innovations necessary to make it happen, of course. Also with a mobile phone now and tablet and whatever you have, but it was fundamental. And the interesting thing is we did not stop here because this molecule is so interesting. We looked at polymers, you know, we are always looking for polymers. And then we found out the polymer is not good for color, but the polymer is semiconductor. And now these polymers are now used for flexible displays, and in future this will come more, because there you cannot use copper or something like this. You need to use kind of flexible semiconductors. So, or no, you cannot use silica and these type of things, but flexible, these things, yeah. And my own story where I did a lot was also a little Mission Impossible. It was about the discovery in the 90s, then later after this project, that UVA radiation is causing skin cancer. And UVB radiation is causing the erythema, sunburn. And this is about white skin particularly. You know, we Europeans, we have a problem with this. but there was no UVA absorber. And the melanoma was seen from animal experiments that melanoma happened because of UVA. You can be happy, by the way, in India, because if you are dark, it's good. If you are light, it's better. So many Indians want to be light, but they should be rather wish to be dark, because dark, the melanin, which is in our dermis, is protecting us from UV, not to develop skin cancer. So therefore, the darker the better, not the lighter the better, what some people think. And to make long story short, this was a very difficult project. It was really very costly also, and we synthesized thousands of molecules. And finally, but we invested in this project, and then it became really a very successful product, which you find now in all daycare creams and in all sunscreens based on this innovation. But you also see here 1,500 new molecules, 10 molecules were upscaled, full process, then pilot plant with a product candidate, and then the registration of the product in the early 2000s. And now, as I said, it's this new molecule has a turnover of 150 million euros. You know, this is used as one of the components for the sunscreen. We do not sell the sunscreens, we sell the components which are needed to formulate the sunscreens. And you find it everywhere in the world. This has also shown me you should not give up early. You have to be persistent and really to work very, very hard in chemistry to come up with new products. Another example, and then I come to the end, is a colleague. This is also fantastic. This is technology push. The colleagues in Germany work on TPUs, thermoplastic polyurethane, for foams. And they found a new technology to make like small rice corns. They form very nice foams, but the foams are very dense. And nobody knew what to do with it, but we saw that it's repelling the energy, from this steel ball, it's coming out. And then the idea was, oh, this would be good for sport shoe soles, because when you are running, you would like to capture a little from the energy, which you push down, and then you should get like a spring. And it's so funny, and this shows you customer response. Some business people say, ask your customers, they tell you, which is not always true, or many times it's not true, because we went to a small thermal city, to Herzogenaurach, where the headquarters of Puma and the headquarters of Adidas, two global sports shoe companies. And in the morning, Puma told us not interesting, and in the afternoon, Adidas told us very interesting, just opposite. And then we developed the product with Adidas, and now most sports shoes have this kind, it's called Adidas Boost, which are based on this kind of new technology in TPU foams. Yeah, future culture of creativity, I already mentioned, serendipity. You look for something, but you find something different, which is interesting. I also have examples in my career. I cannot discuss this now, but it's very important that leaders allow the scientists to look left and right. And because most of fundamental innovation comes from serendipity, you have a finding which is so surprising to you, but not along your objective. And then the organization allows you to look at this finding, and from there, new products are coming out. This is serendipity, and every research manager needs to be careful not to kill these type of things because it's not the objective. So this is very, very bad. So we need leaders in universities also, of course, and in business and in politics and everywhere who are emphatic, trust and confidence in own people, risk-taking and failure culture, because we fail, of course, we have to fail in research. And empowerment and directed autonomy, meaning we do not know everything. Our young people know, I see this every day, they do know more about certain subjects that I do. And we need not to give up early. This is basically, I like this here. Look, I like really Steve Jobs, the comment, when we hire people also in the campus, I would want to hire people who tell us what to do. Not that we just hire people who, at the beginning when somebody comes new, it's fine. We instruct and we tell and we help and so on. But later a scientist should come up and tell us what to do. Because these are young people who have good education and also have good ideas. And this is I think the last one. The big problem in research R&D is always the same. And this is a problem which cannot be solved easily, because every organization has a limited number of funds. You know, we have a lot. We have 2 billion euros, but also it's limited. And then we have a lot of projects, always new projects. And then the question is, what do we water? How long do we wait? But it's very important to be persistent. Otherwise, if we stop things, if it gets difficult, then we just waste all money and we have no result. This is the biggest question. And this also means to understand that failure is common and cannot be avoided. It's very, very important. But again, to terminate the right project, to continue, put on hold, start is a difficult question. Yeah, that's all from my side. I hope I did not take too much of your time. I wanted to get a little broad into the subject with some of my learnings in my time and also some of my examples in my research career. Thank you very much, and I'm open to your question.
Thanks, Dr. Dietmar, for this highly informative and knowledge sharing session, highlighting the power of innovation and keeping connected. And thanks for sharing your struggle and continuous, especially for the young generation. Thanks for sharing your struggle and continuous efforts behind the successful development of Tinosob or Tinosob. We have received overwhelming response and feedback from our audience. Due to the limitation of allowing joining of only 300 participants in this particular format, unfortunately, we could not accommodate many more participants because we reached that limit quite early at the start of this program itself. And there are some comments and questions in the chat box and WhatsApp. With your permission, can I read some of them and can you elaborate further?
Please do, yeah, everything. You always get an answer from me, no problem, no problem.
Thank you.
Curious,
so,
yeah.
In your opinion, which is the latest innovative product or molecule from BASF which can be used for textile application?
Yeah, good. I know your institute is textile, but I'm very honest with you. Textile is very limited now in BASF. There's a glorious history, but you have seen my chart that we always have to get into new fields. As a European company, textile applications, the textile dye stuff, since many years we divested. I think Dystar was yes. The company, but also with textile applications, there is not much product lines available. And also 2 years ago, we divested the paper chemicals, or we put it into a company where we have, how do you call it, where we participate, but not under our leadership. I cannot answer this question. But again, it's very important. Maybe I have to make one remark. We talk about the product life cycle, right? The emerging new products, they have high profitability, and then you lose patents, and then you have the declining of the product life cycle. But still, these products are very important. But a company like BASF has to find the right timing to sell a product line or a business when we still get money, and not to wait until it's no more profitable for us. And in textile dyestuffs and textile chemicals, there is, I think, a rest of products, but it's more seen as a commodity business right now from BASF's point of view.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another question is, textile is considered to be one of the largest pollution contributor.
Yes.
But it appears that the global leading organizations like BASF are vacating this focused textile R&D space. Is there any specific reason?
You mean again that we are not in the field anymore?
From the pollution control.
Yeah. Textile is like paper making is an industrial activity which has a lot of critical points. Of course, just back to my own time when I started 1990, Ciba-Geigy, we had this Ciba-Chrome dyes, direct dyes, and it was always shown that if you put the dye stuff in the water and then you have the cotton, the water was afterwards totally clear. So it was a reactive dye which did not cause any polluted water. When I was a kid, the whole River Rhine was polluted with dye stuffs because they cleaned their vessels and so on. Mm-hmm. So It is absolutely clear that the dye stuff industry and the textile industry, the dyeing industry and the fabric treatment industry of fabrics, this all has to do with water. It's all water-based. And therefore the technology, and this is existing technology, is about optimizing the dyeing processes, taking the right products, but also having the right sewage treatment plants. And I tell you, here is there in Basel, there is a bridge, an old bridge. And when I went over from one side to the other with my father in the 60s, the whole river was polluted. Now you can drink the water from the river. You can bath in the river because everything is now done sustainability with high sustainability and water purification and so. But I know in India also the same applies to the paper industry. These are huge industries with a lot of volumes of water. I know that India is also doing a lot of efforts to prevent, to reduce the impact of these industries to the environment, particularly to the water, you know. And if you ask BSF, we have no special, this is not a special focus for us anymore, as I said, the paper and the dyes and cotton and the textile industry. But of course, we have huge experience in running the sewage plants and looking for our large plants, global plants, to make sure that we do not have any pollution into the rivers, because chemistry still, everything relates to water, and therefore all big plants are at the water, either at the river or at the oceans. Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. And another question is, before developing a new chemical, are the alternatives to avoid waste after end use thought of to achieve a circular economy? So before
Yes.
developing a molecule, are the ill effects considered?
Yes, and this is the big paradigm change. When I, again, 20, 30 years ago, what was considered was the production process to make it safe, that we do not have health issues for the workers. Also the final product, that it's registered, meaning the tox, that it's not toxic and these things. But the fate of the product was not considered. In other words, we sold to the cosmetic industry, for instance, and did not think about what happens to the shampoo, what happens to the creams, because, for instance, in cosmetics, everything ends up in sewage, in water, like the detergent industry. But now the point is absolutely clear. When we develop a new product, normally we replace an old product, and this new product must have a much better profile. And we look from cradle to grave, and we look if we can recycle products, if we can recycle also intermediates. And as I have shown you in the plastics field, which is very critical, we have now really large activities to make plastics, which is frozen oil. You can see plastics like a frozen oil, right? We make it liquid again, and we take the oil and make new plastics out of it. This is a perfect example of circular economy, the recovery of naphtha from plastic pollution from waste plastics.
Okay, thanks. I think Professor Pandit would like to ask you a question. Pandit sir, please.
The next project is
Thank you.
from HPCL and IIT Delhi.
It was outstanding presentation, Dr. Dittmar. And I think you did really cover the entire gamut of the issues and problems which are faced not only by textile chemicals, but the entire chemical industry. My huge compliments to this. And I think I would like you to share your presentation with a much larger audience so that it can be made available and people can start thinking in terms of how to carry out sustainable research activity in the area of chemical sciences. My thank you very much for that outstanding presentation.
Thanks also. Thanks to you. I was very happy to give this lecture, and I think again the examples are examples, but they can be the logic, everything can be translated. And again, the thing is, sustainability will not go away. It's not a phase next 10 years or so.
No. You're absolutely right.
It will change the whole life of all of us. We cannot continue like I never remember the 17th the 70s when I was young, the 80s. It was all about money. Okay, when you had more money, then you had a big car, but pollution and everything. And we have to think about what we do here. And I can tell you for BSF, this is of utmost importance.
Yeah, so true. So even the chemical engineering curricula is likely to change and is likely to bring in many aspects of sustainable manufacturing, sustainable technology as an integral part of a chemical engineering syllabi itself, from the undergraduate level itself, rather than end of the pipe solution that you learn something and then you start worrying about the sustainability. The sustainability should be integrated in the undergraduate curricula itself. Then only people will start realizing the importance of that.
Yes, true.
So I had that query. Will it be possible for you to share your presentation?
Yes,
with
yes. Just
you can
tell me whom I should send it. I would send a PDF most likely.
PDF
but,
is fine. I think you can share it with Dr. Adivarekar, Professor
okay.
Adivarekar.
Okay, I will do, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, who sent the invitation? I send it to him and he can distribute it then. Yes,
Sure,
no
yeah,
problem.
sure.
No
That's
problem.
great. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much indeed.
So once again, thanks. Thank you, Dr. Dittmar, for this excellent speech. There are many other questions, but I know we have time limitation and now it's almost 5:20. So I will take those questions and I will share with you offline, and then
Yes.
whenever it is convenient to you,
We can make an appointment, look, and then we just can I go through and
Sure.
share my opinions on these questions. No problem at all.
Sure. Thanks a lot. Now I will request our registrar, Professor R.R. Deshmukh, to give vote of thanks. Deshmukh, sir?
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Respected dignitaries and eminent personalities present in the lecture, my colleagues, students, friends present here, I thank you all for virtually joining us in this Dr. M.V. Nimkar Endowment Lecture 2021. Very sad to hear that few days ago, Dr. Manohar Nimkar and his wife, Mrs. Mohini Nimkar, passed away. My heartfelt condolences for both. May their souls rest in peace. I sincerely thank Mr. Ulhas Nimkar and his family for creating Dr. M.V. Nimkar Foundation and for their support and active participation in this program. The program could not have been initiated without their cooperation, even in these hard times. Then I take the opportunity to thank Dr. Dittmar Haglin, the speaker of today's lecture on the new normal in chemical R&D, sustainability, digitalization, globalization, and open innovation. He has very clearly explained the recent term new normal very lucidly, and circular economy and wonderful mathematical equation. Thank you, sir, for your excellent talk.
Thanks a lot, and I wish you a good time. Thank you very much for
very
the
nice equation that. I thank Mr. Prasad Nadella, BASF employee, and our alumni for coordinating with today's speaker, Dr. Dittmar Haglin. I also take this opportunity to thank Professor A.B. Pandit, Honorable Vice Chancellor of ICT, for his valuable time and constant guidance. I thank Professor R.V. Adivarekar, Head Department of Fibers and Textile Processing Technology, and his colleagues for their enthusiasm, tireless efforts to make this program happen through a virtual platform. Last but not the least, I honestly thank all the audiences for their positive and enthusiastic presence throughout the program. Without your presence, no program can be successful. Thank you all. Stay safe, stay blessed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now we are concluding this session. Thanks.